Sometime someone somewhere will come knocking, knocking on the door, and Venus and FURS will be smiling. Oh, when that moment arrives, Venus and FURS.
Hello, my friends. I'm back after a few days of not shooting, waylaid by various issues I have to tend with in this thing called in real life, and all the various problems and potential pitfalls that come with attempting to live it. That old quote was, the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. I can't remember who it was. Let me know in the comments below. No, nobody ever comments below. I do appreciate Virgil Snodgrass, aka Troy, a buddy from online, who did comment on the thief, his wife, and her lover Extremely Forgotten episode of BLU REVUE, which was the last one I did. That was part 10 of this series. So, real quick, this series is basically, films that were on VHS, never crossed to DVD, were on DVD, never crossed to Blu-ray, crossed to Blu-ray, and have gone out of print and are exorbitantly expensive online, or ones that are region locked, region 2, 3, B, C, whatever, or touted as region free and not really region free, or are region free but have difficulty playing on refurbished Blu-ray players, which are great things to have. I mean, I've got a couple. I never had any problems with DVDs, but Blu-rays can, I don't know. That's an area I should by now be an expert on, but I just went ahead and decided to limit my collection before I ran out of money to have one, to region A, legit region free, or region 1, 2, 3 ABC releases, because they tended to be cheaper than the imports. They were by companies that I knew and trusted, or independent boutique labels that I personally wanted to support, like Severin, Criterion, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome. Those are some of the big dogs, but and they're growing, and they deserve it. The COVID scenario almost knocked them out of business, along with the rest of us. But we endure, as Tarzan said, "I yet live," and as Wolverine said, "I'm a survivor, bub." So I'm going to do another one of these extreme/forgotten. I call that series, I'm just calling it that now with the slash, because it can be extreme and forgotten, or it can just be forgotten. I don't know if it can be just extreme. That goes against the whole purpose. But what I'm saying is most of the ones I've done are dealing with subjects that are taboo in one way or another, either subject matter or the graphic nature of it, from a visual standpoint, a notorious or controversial or perhaps censored or banned film, a video nasty, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure all 10 I've done have fallen under at least one of those categories. And yes, I'm going to do more extreme ones than I have been doing overall, like more graphic, way out movies. I think my last episode, The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, was a great example. I don't think anyone can argue that that's not one of the more extreme mainstream English language films made in the last 4 or 5 decades, maybe ever. This next one is somewhat extreme by reputation and also by the ostensible source material for the film. It's a director that I've never covered on here that I remember. It's somebody I like. I've seen a lot of his movies, but still only a fraction. And yet, not many of his films are high in my own personal favorites, and that's Jess Franco. Now, I know a lot of people who are subscribed to my channel and are in my Facebook film group, Deep Images, are huge, huge Franco fans, and I'm all about it, man. I totally respect it. And a lot of his stuff is on Blu-ray. Quite a lot of obscurities. The fact this one isn't is extremely odd, and it may touch on speculation that I have that maybe I'll share with you later if I remember it. Because I have the DVD right here. Okay, Venus and Furs, 1969, Jesus Franco. This beautiful yellow-based cover that Blue Underground made. And they're very nice, clear inside with the lovely disc, Maria Rum's knickers showing, and a helpful chapter card. And there are a lot of chapters, man. 24 chapters. I always liked that about Anchor Bay Blue Underground. I mean, sometimes they threw in like a chapter every like minute or two, like on the Beyond, but it's okay. I'd rather have more than less, really, because if I overshoot going backward and it's, you know, a long chapter, then I'd fast forward, and, you know, whereas if it's, you know, there's short chapters, I can kind of jump back if I've lost my place. I will say that my my Blu-ray player in my living room, which is across from me, which I have attached to a 55-inch LG HD, not a 4K, but a high def. The Blu-ray has been saving my spaces on a lot of films. Usually that only happens when I watch one of the newer mastered Criterions, but it's been doing it for Arrows and even some random other ones, which has been interesting and fun. And then the one I have upstairs, well, this is it. I mean, if the disc is still in the player, you know, it's going to do that a lot of times, not always, but any well-mastered, more contemporary one, you know, you can turn it on and it'll pick up right where you left off. But I'm talking about discs that you've actually ejected and put in the case, and then you put it back in there, and it immediately goes to where you left off. And that's much rarer, and I think that is so cool, and I have no earthly clue technologically how that is done. If someone wants to tell me in the comments below, feel free. All right, so I just want to say that this is my favorite Jess Franco movie. It's got a nice little cast. James Darren, who of course was I don't know if you want to say a teeny bopper exactly, but kind of a smooth pop, rock, jazz, you know, singer of that era especially. I think he really kind of probably peaked a few years before this, but has always, you know, been a working entertainer. This is one of his first, if not his first, foray into acting. I first saw him acting toward the end of the 1990s in my favorite Star Trek series, Deep Space Nine, where he played, what's this character's name? Vic Fortune, or Vic Damone, or Vic something. I should know this, right? His name was Vic Fontaine. So Vic Fontaine is actually a hologram. And, you know, the holograms, after a while in Star Trek in the 24th century timeline, okay, I know I'm geeking out on Star Trek. It just doesn't take much, really. You know, they become sentient. A lot of them have become sentient, such as the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager. So Vic Fontaine was one of the first characters like that who became a sentient, like a self-aware hologram, because he was really kind of created as a type, you know, someone of that era, like the 1950s, the 20th century, and the people in the 24th century could, you know, I don't know, marvel at his quaintness. And it turned out that he had a lot of, you know, this kind of homespun, you know, kind of American advice, you know, like, hey, kid, let me tell you how it is, you know. And of course, you know, that seems to a lot of people, well, myself too, kind of ridiculous now, that type. But he was definitely that type, a kind of a parody of an homage to that type. And it's really perfect casting. Venus and Furs casting is really off the charts as far as how far you would think a role would match up with his persona. This also stars Barbara McNair, who was a singer of the era, a beautiful young black woman who I was not familiar with before this film. In some ways, she's my favorite character in the film. Maria Rom, one of Jess Franco's favorites, is in it. Of course, Klaus Kinski, he's everywhere. Dennis Price, I believe, and those are them. Yeah, that's and Manfred Mann, and his band. This is before the Earth band, though. So one reason of many that I connected with this movie is because it's about a jazz musician. He's a trumpeter, and the era in which he's playing and when this movie took place, he's pretty much playing straight ahead bebop, some hard bop, and verging on jazz rock, because that's kind of where Manfred Mann started, though he had pop success early with like Quinn the Eskimo, but not one of his better songs in my opinion. So sorry about getting into all the minutia of jazz subgenres, but I'm trying to locate this in its era and its context, because a big thing about his character in this movie is he's very existentialist. He's very overly romantic, and he's a bit lost and confused. He thinks to himself through the whole movie, and that's the voiceover. And some of the things he says are like, hip daddy-o kind of slang, and the other things are, like pulled from some existentialist tome. And then some things he just says that are kind of naturally endemic to his character. For instance, he makes a few points and then he says, musicians will understand. And I'm being a musician, not a very great one by any means. Yeah, I understood. And don't ask me what the point was he made in that scene. I've forgotten. That line stands out to me because I think he's saying, well, he's basically talking about he's in a creative ebb and flow. I mean, he gets hung up. That's one of his slang terms he uses a lot. He gets hung up, spun out to dry by Maria Rom's character named Wanda, popular name these days. And Wanda is this kind of elusive, strange. She's kind of a cipher as a character. She doesn't have a whole lot of character. She's just kind of beautiful. Now, she's not my personal favorite type of beauty, so therefore I'm not as starstruck and blown away as James Darren. But then I don't live in James Darren's skin, man. Or in this case, James Darren's character, and his name's Jimmy. I'm reading the back of this, and I'm trying to see if there's anything major I'm forgetting. I believe Helga Linnea also plays in this. Forgot to mention her. And I can see getting hung up over her. I mean, at least physically. But I like Barbara McNair, too. This one talks about Darren being in Deep Space Nine. He describes him as a traumatized trumpeter sucked into a whirlpool of psychosexual horror. Yeah, William Lustig and his staff, they're gripping the summations on the back of these DVDs. I mean, they kind of set the standard for that. Much imitated. Never eclipsed. British rocker, remember, man. Okay, this has been restored from original vault elements and is now presented totally uncut, uncensored, and loaded with exclusive extras. And of course, that little blurb right there about culled from all the elements, that kind of blurb used to appear on all their stuff, and I kind of parodied it kind of in a savage way in one of my last videos. It was good natured. I wasn't trying to mock it. I think it's good. Knowledge is good, and if you are interested in film in a tactile way, film as opposed to video of that era, and editing and trying to preserve those films, film preservation in general, and someone tells you they fused together a 16 millimeter inner positive with a long lost negative found in the vaults of Madrid, grafted onto a 1/2 inch master tape from an ancient VHS, but it was all we had. And then, then when they display it on screen, and these are guys who started doing this kind of stuff, and then they're like, "We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause you or discomfort. We've done the very best we can. We hope you'll be satisfied." Um, but anyway, if you're fascinated with that kind of stuff, which I am, obviously, then I think that stuff's very appreciated. I just think the way they go over the top about it is very thorough. You know, better written than I could probably write such notes on here. But I will say it's still over the top, and to non-devotees of this stuff, it sounds like some kind of crazy fetishism. It sounds that way to me in a way, and I'm into it. So Jimmy is this trumpeter, and yeah, he's just basically hung up. He's kind of like Spider-Man, of that era, and he's wandering around thinking to himself. No thought balloons, but he's thinking to himself, and just basically how depressed he is. I mean, all these guys back then, I mean, they weren't diagnosed for depression. They obviously had depression and anxiety. Poor Peter Parker. Why didn't he have a therapist? Um, Now, Jimmy, he seems like he'd probably be too cool for a therapist. Or he'd be like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. The Freudian approach is cool, but I'm more of a Reichian." And I could see that, him saying that too. Um, but he's not pretentious. He's just, like I said, he's lost. But one thing is genuine. Two things are genuine about him. He's very passionate, as in he falls in love pretty fucking hard and gets sexually enamored very, very easily. And he's very earnest about it. Not always a quality that's good for you if you want to survive emotionally, as I've learned in real life. The other thing is he's devoted to his music, and the former emotional state keeps affecting the latter. So that's why he keeps getting hung up, And he has a girlfriend, Rita, played by Barbara McNair. Now she is a singer in this club that he frequents, and they have kind of an on again, on off again relationship. She's kind of the long suffering girlfriend. I mean, on one hand, she's always there to hear him be moaning about he misses Wanda. I mean, come on, man. This would never fly nowadays. I don't think you'd have a strong black woman character lying in bed, committing to a man while he's just going off about how much he loves this sexy white girl. She'd be like, fuck you, mister. I'm worth more than that. And she is, and that's part of the suffering of her character. I mean, if you view through a modern lens, it is sad and kind of, but she's kind of like him. The hang up that Jimmy has over Wanda is Rita has it over Jimmy. She's not quite as freaked out. I mean, he sees visions and images, and when the movie starts, he's playing a gig, and he's got a cool band with him. And Manfred Mann, yes, plays a Manfred Mann-esque unnamed character, keyboardist, leader of this really cool kind of hard bop jazz rock kind of outfit, and yeah, it's great. And Jess Franco himself plays one of the band members, and I would wager that Jess Franco was playing his own parts along with Manfred Mann because he was a trumpeter. So this is a little autobiographical of Franco. Jazz is an important component of a lot of his movies, musicians, and the soundtracks, the music themselves, the music itself for these films is very much a part of the experience. But in any case, yeah, for instance, he shot some films under the name Clifford Brown, the jazz trumpeter who died kind of young. It was awesome. So yeah, they're grooving and playing. Now James Darren, from my research, he learned how to do the horn. He might say it in the interview on this disc. Uh, he had to learn all the fingerings, and he really was dedicated. I mean, he got them right from what I can tell about how sounds emanate from a trumpet being played. But it's like his devotion to the horn itself. The horn becomes this huge, symbol of everything he loves and everything that he's, trying to get rid of. And he like loses his horn on the beach, and then he hides it in the sand, and then he comes back like a year later and digs it up. All of these things are really just, they're not really plot points so much as they're just kind of psychological, symbols of his, mental state. Um, and when, like I said, when the film opens, he's playing at that club with Manfred and Jess and and the boys, and um, he got the voiceover, the ever present voiceover, and he's like, I can't remember if it was yesterday or last week or last month, or last year. And that immediately made me think of Last Year at Marienbad. When I first heard of Last Year at Marienbad, I thought the title should be spoken as like the last year at Marienbad, like the final year at Marienbad. So I was wrong all these years. When I finally saw the movie, it was like last year, comma, at Marienbad, we met, or did we? And so there's that specter raised right there within the material itself is the last year at Marienbad quality to it of like what really happened, what really transpired between him and this woman. Of course, this takes it much farther than the Marienbad thing because that's kind of all set in that giant mansion. Whereas this is kind of a globe-trotting thing. He went down to Rio de Janeiro to film, and in Spain, and I don't know how he afforded all these planes, and had any film left over. But he found a way. I'm talking about Jess Franco. Like a jazz musician, he's an improviser. A lot of his stuff is improvised, and this film is kind of a good balance between the kind of completely loose, plotless, almost improvised stuff, and a very tight, uh, uh, reams of dialogue from Jimmy that move the plot, what there is, along, and keep you reminded of who the character is, grounded in what his problem is. The problem itself is kind of ethereal and abstract, but he's really feeling it. He's genuinely feeling it. Because basically, at the beginning, he finds this body on the beach. Very beginning of the movie. And it's Wanda, or Venus. She's the Venus in FURS. Now, when I said that this was based on extreme source material, that name is from Leopold Sacher-Masoch, his book Venus in FURS, which I read once a long time ago, from which the term masochism derives, Sacher-Masoch. So an important book in the annals of psychosexuality, and that's kind of psychosexual is definitely how this film was promoted, advertised, and definitely a lot of vibe is there, as it is in quite a few of Franco's movies. Succubus is an example I love right off the top of my head. That's a very psychosexual. But to me, this one, the photography's clearer. Maybe it's just a beautiful remastering condition they did. Lustig and Company had this knack for taking movies you've never heard of, movies that should have been damaged in some warehouse rotting away, and make them look like they were just shot yesterday on film. And this one has that look. It's beautiful, and I hope when it's on Blu-ray, if it's ever on Blu-ray, this video is my petition for it to be on Blu-ray. That they will use the same transfer or as good, if not better, a transfer. Because it's really wonderful. The sound is really wonderful. the movie moves along at a pretty good clip. It doesn't really meander. It has a lot of repetitive plot points, repetitive kinds of shots, sometimes repetitive shots themselves, but there's some variety. I mean, because basically his idea is, okay, Wanda's dead, what the hell? And then he's playing the gig, and he's with Rita, and she's being the understanding, all too understanding girlfriend. And then he flashes back to last year at not Marion Bad, whatever city they were in, and she was basically kind of involved in this sadomasochistic sexual orgy attended by Dennis Price. These are the actors, not the characters. Dennis Price, Helga Lee. Did I miss somebody? Well, I know I did, but Klaus Kinski. Klaus Kinski himself was probably there. No, his character's named Ahmet. You know, he sums them all up like Ahmet, a globe-trotting playboy. And then Helga Lee, whatever her character, a swinging fashion photographer. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but not much. But it definitely he says it in that way. Like he's on it, baby. He should have been a writer of novels as well as a musician. I mean, the character Jimmy. So these swinging jet set. He talks about that, the jet set lifestyle. They were the jet setting yacht crew, and she was out of my league. But I wanted to be in her league, and it was burning me up bad. I'm paraphrasing, but that's where it leads. Is this frustration that he's just some bum musician and this like sexy woman, but there's nothing about her that is, other than her looks, there's nothing about her that's really very distinguished. I mean, he summed up 3 other characters with one-liners, you know, that were, you know, at least to the point, that, you know, the whatever the basic type of characters these are, the phenotypes, but never really does it for Wanda other than to say she's part of the jet set crew. But that's not anything about her individually. What makes her so fascinating? I have theories. They could all be wrong. One theory I have is that Maria Rom was one of Jess's many muses. Obviously, none of them hit the level Lena Romay, who he married. But I think she was one of his muses, and I think the way that it's shot kind of fetishistically, and the imagery of her is constant. Some of it I groove to, and some of it I don't. So I'm talking like Jimmy. The ones where she's kind of the jet set blonde chick, you know, like I said, that's not my type. But where she's got like the dark wig with kind of the bob, and she's wearing the fur coat, and then nothing else, shoes. And I'm back. A technical difficulty slashed my video masterpiece in twain. So if you've seen part 1, I guess you're now at part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, watch that first and then watch this. This really sucks. Because I was on a roll here, man. Venus and FURS. What I was saying is that there's a fetishization of Maria Rom and her character Wanda / Venus. Wanda's always been one of my favorite names for a woman anyway, and my mom's friend, a neighbor of mine when I was a little child, was named Wanda. And then, of course, I got into the Scarlet Witch character very young. Her name's Wanda. And now, of course, the whole world knows it. And in a few days, we'll be seeing her again on screens everywhere, played by Elizabeth Olsen, who I think does an incredible Wanda. I have a good friend named Wanda who lives in France, and she is into a lot of cool stuff. She's an amazing woman. You know, if she ever moves here, you know, she's just going to have to marry me. That's just, I've already told her that, and you know. So, but what I was going to say is that this Wanda is really, she kind of wanders in and out of these scenarios, like the orgy scenario where they kind of, you know, they basically they sexually molest her, they cut her and do like some little bloodletting rituals, and you know, none of it's extreme, but it's, you know, it's kinky. And at one point, Jimmy pulls her out of being kind of mauled by those 3, and he's like, "If this is your scene, tell me and I'll split, man. This ain't my trip. You know, I mean, that's, oh my God. He is a hipster with integrity, man. And so I've got to say that the more you watch, you probably, other than that key scene, and then the scenes that are in the present where he's in the club or then goes down to Rio de Janeiro with Rita during Mardi Gras, so Franco could get some production values and shoot the actual Mardi Gras all on location. Well, I mean, this movie shot all on location. They couldn't afford a studio for this. And that's fine. You know, it's all cool with me. And other than those kind of plot points that kind of are like an engine to drive the plot sort of along to where it's going, really a lot of it is digression, you know, and we could see these as flashbacks by Jimmy and images. But the thing is, if she's dead, in other words, he's seeing her now in the present again, and he thinks he's kind of going crazy. And of course, in you know, lugubrious fashion in the voiceover, he tells us how crazy, you know, I forgot what he said. He's like, I'm mixed up, man. I'm mixed up in the head. I'm making fun of him because he is definitely a character of his time. But I do love the character. I do love the performance. I think for the kind of character that Franco wanted to bring across, Darren does really the very best kind of performance that maybe anyone could have done. I mean, a lot of people probably disagree with me. They'll probably like, well, they could have got Dennis Hopper. It's 1969. I'm sure he could have mastered it. You know, it's like, yeah. But I'm just saying, him being a musician, musicians will understand. So the plot, as it is, progresses to where basically those people did kill her. She's come back to life somehow. And maybe his love brought her back. And she gets revenge. She seduces those three, the characters, Ahmet, played by Kinski, and Cap, played by Dennis Price, and the swing-in fashion photographer, played by Helga Linné. And in turn, she seduces them and murders them and gets her revenge. I would say a lot of Ahmet's dialogue is over the top. You know, obviously it's not really Klaus Kinski's voice. And he sometimes, you know, he's in a suit and he looks just like Klaus Kinski during that period. Other times he's wearing like a turban and these robes, and you know, the implication is that he's from the Middle East. He's like some prince, and he starts like quoting all this kind of pseudo quasi Muslim philosophy. You know, like he's some bit character in Saragossa manuscript, or you know, I mean, it's just, you know, he's like the Arabian Nights, you know, and it's total cliche, but you know, again, Franco gets the costumes; they look cool, you know, and the scenes of Ahmet's little lair. He's got all the little brassy, you know, jewels and things, and of course, filming the spires out there in Spain, that adds to it too. The Marisa Militu. So it has that. I think it meets most of its aspirations, despite the fact, you know, cliched dialogue and you know, kind of weak characterization, at least of all the characters, but Rita and Jimmy, tend to bring it down. But if you're in the vibe, like in the groove, so to speak, with this, you know, I talk this way a lot anyway, so now I'm getting self-conscious. Then I think you'll be swept along with it and enjoy it. The music is great, man. For man, stuff is great. But the main theme song, Venus and Furs, the melody kind of wafts throughout the movie, like a lot of main themes, played on different instruments, played in different arrangements. One I really like early on is when he finds he digs his horn up on the beach, and he's kind of, you know, I guess blowing the sand out of it, and he hits a few notes, and then he starts playing that melody, the rudimentary melody. He doesn't play it for long. And then it comes through a few times. There's another theme, hard to describe, that's throughout the movie that especially appears during a lot of the parts where she's kind of, you know, pictured walking down the stairs, like I said, with nothing but high heels, a fur coat, and a red bob wig. But that image is also used in in concert with the Venus and Furs theme song. So the Venus and Furs theme song turns out to be a song called Venus and Furs. I have forgotten if I ever knew who actually wrote this music. I would personally guess either Franco and or Manfred Mann and or someone that helped them arrange this soundtrack. Lyrics, I would say Franco wrote them. I'm pretty sure he did. And basically the lyrics are about her revenge on these people. And it's kind of like likening these three pervs who destroy Wanda, and she returns and destroys them in kind. The kind of people in the world in general who prey on other people, and like karma, baby, it's going to come around and get you, and Venus will have revenge. And so you get to this where you have at the end of each stanza before she goes into the chorus, she's describing how this vengeance has been carried out, like fate or destiny or death or whatever will come knocking at your door. And then she's like, and Venus and Furs will be smiling when this moment arrives. Oh my God, that vocal line, it's just incredible. It's really incredible. I could listen to it all day long and have. I've had this movie on repeat one day. I watched it 5 times. I may need some help here. Just kidding. Don't worry, I'm getting help. The blurb on the cover of this says, "Trippy as hell," says the San Francisco Examiner. And it is. I mean, it's like the music and sound are really enveloping. And there's a lot of experimentation with slow motion, a lot of really kind of blurred shots that are kind of deliberately kind of fucked up, kaleidoscopic looking. A lot of these techniques were used in psychedelic movies back then. There's scenes where they're like running and shot in negative, but with color. And some of it is so well remastered that it really looks like a modern effect. And I was kind of almost thinking, did they go back and tinker with this? And, and a lot of them are Jimmy running, Jimmy trying to find Venus. See, that's the recurring idea. It's like a dream, You keep trying to grab that woman, and she's elusive. Right when you wake up. I'm sure almost anyone watching this who's been in love at least once, has had some kind of dream of that nature. Especially if it was that person was taken from you, either by a bad situation, or they abandoned you, or they died. It's relatable, as they say these days. It's very relatable. And I like Rita. She's noble, and it's like she's trying to be hip and like, yeah, we're in an open relationship, man, and it's all good, and I'm just around when you need me. But you can tell she's in love with him. And the end of the movie, because I do these spoilers all the time, you guys know that. That's in the description. Jimmy, he keeps revisiting that beach, and then this one really great musical theme that's just, I can't sum it up exactly, but it's really great. And it happens a lot it occurs a lot when he's running in slow motion. It's like the James Darren slow motion theme, and he does it, and that's important in a minute. Him running in slow motion, because what he finds on the beach is it dusts the sand off this man who apparently is dead, and it's him. It's me. I've been dead all along. And of course that's been a trope in numerous stories. I didn't think it was particularly shocking or anything innovative in and of itself. It really had just as little or as much meaning as anything else in the movie. Anything you choose to see in it, or you find in it, or you attribute to it, and it is kind of one of those kind of movies. You can almost write upon it. And I don't mean like fanfic speculation that I knock all the time. I just mean what's real and what isn't, what's dream and what's reality, and me and my buddy Tim Tolbert, our permanent channel patron, we've been joking around a lot about Moon Knight and Oscar Isaac's amazing British accent. It's so adorable. It really is. It's cute. So you want to befriend this poor nerdy British guy, Steven. And you know, of course, his tagline for the early trailers and was used in the first episode. He's like, "I can't tell the difference between dreams and me waking life." And it's like that's kind of this movie is, and so we joke around and use that phrase on each other a lot. And so, you know, whenever something weird is going to happen to you, you should be like, "Oh, I can't tell the difference between my dreams and waking life." You know, and that's, you know, yeah. So this is that kind of experience. Stephen would be very bewildered by this, I'm sure. So I don't know if Stephen watches movies. He hasn't made any pop culture references like some Marvel characters egregiously do. Thank God. Um, the last episode is on tomorrow of Moon Knight, by the way, and I'm pretty fucking excited. So how do we get on to Moon Knight? The dream thing, and of course, dreams are huge in surrealism, and of course, they're very strong uh, engines of story that drive story in uh, David Lynch's films, especially Inland Empire and the Twin Peaks, you know, mythos. Um, so I've incorporated a lot of this stuff in the last year or two, stronger into maybe 3 years into Flickr Street. I've talked about this before on some of those videos. If you're tired of hearing about it, you can just skip this or fast forward or go back and do something else. But you know, essentially, there's within my mind a dream mall, and the dream mall. I drew it. I started drawing it for Kelly. I told her all about it. Of course, Kelly, being a mystic, she immediately understood this kind of thing. And so when we finally met in person and she moved in, you know, I started drawing it. It started going page, 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 and it could go on and on. And all of it's here. I could do it right now. And she thought that was like a very powerful, magical act. I think it kind of turned her on. And I'm not making fun, and I'm not being funny. I'm serious about that it being like a magical act, and you know, being turned on by magic is, like I've said many times, and I got, you know, me and her quoted this to each other. I don't remember who said it first. It's all the same energy, sex, magic, art, you know, to me it is. That's going one of my taglines. It's all the same imagery, but it's not painful to use it like it was when I first started doing these videos. I think it was very painful. I was overly worshipful of my ex-fiance. I don't feel that way anymore at all. I respect, you know, the experiences and the things I learned, the connections that we made as far as art and the insight I got into Flickr Street and what I was writing. I've had lucid dreaming for almost 20 years. Um, it's amazing. Sometimes it's very, very tough to wake up, to get out of it, to shake off the emotions, especially if they're very negative emotions. Um, but I've got a lot of ideas for characters and scenes. And the Dream Mall does exist within Flickr Street. The mall itself is on the Flickr Street map, but there is a portal within the mall into the Dream Mall. So where are you then? Are you in another dimension? Are you inside a dream and you can walk back to it? It's kind of the portal idea of Twin Peaks. You know, the Black Lodge in the old series, you could get there, the way I recall it, you could access it three ways, either in dreams or after you died, your spirit could appear there, and or a portal. And they really they expand the portal mythology around it extensively in Twin Peaks: The Return. So I guess I'm just trying to let you guys know, you know, this is it's kind of a, to a lot of people would be a surface movie, but to me it's a pretty deep movie, or as Jimmy would probably say, man, it's a heavy trip, you know. And I love Jimmy, and you know, I don't know if it matters if he's alive or dead. I feel sorry for Rita, and that's why the very ending of the movie, after his discovery, is so amazing, because it cuts back to Barbara McNair singing that song, singing all the lyrics I described earlier about vengeance on these horrible people and karma, and you know, come knocking at your door, and Venus and Furs will be smiling when that moment arrives. And she is killer, man, and the way it's shot's beautiful. She's dancing, and oh man, and then they show Venus walking down the stairs to that. I don't know, man. That's one of my favorite movies. Definitely by far my favorite Jess Franco movie. So I think I've gone on long enough to justify a part two since I fucked up and cut part one short. I hope you enjoy these. I hope you'll watch both of them. I loved doing this one. This is a movie I really love, and I have fun talking about these. And I get silly sometimes and ridiculous, but it's born of love for the arts. The art that for song that it makes you feel. So part of me gets really, really silly and over the top, and I guess gleeful, and then part of me gets really somber and serious and like philosophical. So the many sides of a creative, as someone once said. So I'm going to go. Any thanks that I need to make? Thanks to Tim Tolbert again. Thanks to Drew Dahmer, our other channel patron now. And thanks to some really good friends who've been supportive of me because, I hate to bring this up again. I'm in danger of losing my house. I'm trying to get these government programs now through my therapist, which my therapy's free and it's partially state funded. I've had it for a while. Now my newer therapist that I got like 2 months ago at the most, she's trying to take everything to the next step. Like, okay, this guy doesn't have much money because of missing work from being sick and either from depression or from my carpal tunnel nerve damage and or them just cutting my hours because of the company reorganizing. And my salary being before the reorganization was $8.50 an hour after my first raise, plus commissions. The commissions dried up. They bumped us to $15 an hour. Anyway, I am aggressively trying to get another job that I think I got it. I've gone through all the processes, and tomorrow I'm calling about it. And I've been a little nervous and anxious and depressed about it today, to be honest. And I had kind of a second wind here late at night, as I often do, and decided, well, I've got the energy here. Why not shift it towards, working on my eBay orders? Look at what I just sold. For not much either. I think $23. I'd originally priced it for $45 a while back. I've been dropping it. The Punisher Born hardcover with dust jacket, Marvel Max by the Boys team, Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson with the awesome Tom Palmer inks. It's a Glenn Fabry cover, I believe. Beautiful painting. This is a great book, but it's not really a story or an item that I feel I have to keep. There's not many of those left anymore, and you'll find that starts to happen when you're a collector, when you run out of money, and you're like, hey, I could probably do without a few thousand things here I have, and that's what I'm doing now. But the economy's killing my eBay, but I did sell that for $23 plus shipping, which is going to be like $10 because it's a heavy book. And I sold some other comics, but overall did not make a whole lot of money this past week. Maybe $75 or $80, which, with their system on eBay, I don't have all that money yet. I'm waiting on some of it. I am going to do a video. Let me tell you this real quick. I am going to do a video. Welcome back to my eBay. I did welcome to my eBay, where I'm going to show you guys a lot of other stuff I have that I didn't get around to the other time, update you on what's going on my eBay, some of which I just did, and implore you to purchase things for it because I desperately need it. So if you want to donate or help me out, cool. If you want to just watch the videos, awesome. Please subscribe and please like. My views are blowing up. I don't know who all is watching my videos, but now a lot of people are compared to before, in the hundreds. But then I'll have like 4 likes, and I know who all they are. They're all my friends. So I'm trying to go, at least get 10 or 20 likes. A small per 20%. I mean 10% of 200 views. It would be 20 likes. That would be okay, I guess. So I'm gonna split. And I'll be back soon with another whatever I decide, to shoot. So take care, my friends.